Today, I'm going to let you in on one of my biggest secrets. It's something that every planner needs. I'm going to tell you where I get some awesome calendars for free. So stay with me. Well, hi everyone. I'm Crystal from A Crystal Clear Life, where we focus on planning, organizing, and living a more simplified life. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Always happy to see you. Today, I am excited to share with you one of my favorite places to get calendars. And this is a place that I have used calendars from for probably 10 years, a long time. I have used them to download and print out for functions at school and church and all of those kinds of things. I have used them in OneNote for years, and today I wanted to take you along and share with you one of my biggest secrets, where I get all these wonderful calendars from, and hopefully you can find a use for them in the upcoming year as well. So let's get started. Okay, you can see here on my screen that I have split my screen in half so that you can see a little bit of everything that I'm doing. The first thing that I want to do is I want to go into Google and I want to go to calendar, if I can spell it correctly, Pedia, and we're searching for the year 2023, okay? All right, so in Calendarpedia, Calendarpedia.com is a calendar program that offers templates that are designed in Excel and designed in Word, and also are available in PDF versions. And they also now this year, I think, have some online versions, which is really cool. So let's just look at the 2013. I like them with federal holidays because my husband's work kind of follows the federal holiday schedule, so I like to know when those things are up. So I'm going to say that I want to do the federal holidays here in the United States, okay? But if you're not in the United States, they have calendars for all kinds of places, Canada and Australia and you name it, they have lots and lots of calendars. So just because you're not from the United States doesn't mean that this might not work for you. So do check it out. By the way, I will leave the link to Calendarpedia in the description box below if you would like to check it out. They're all free for you to download and use for your own personal use. If you would like to use them for commercial purposes, you have to contact them and that kind of thing. But I only use mine for personal use, so no problems there. Okay, let's take a look quickly at Calendarpedia. If you see over here on the left-hand side, there are all kinds of calendars that you can print. And like I said, they have them in Word format, Excel format, and PDF format, okay? What I am looking for specifically is a 2023 calendar that I can use kind of as a perpetual calendar or for long range planning and that kind of thing. So let's take a look at some of the things that they have. This particular one here is too small for what I'm looking for. Let's just focus on Word calendars because I know I can use a Word calendar in OneNote. So I'm going to scroll down, and they have all of these other countries that I was talking about. So if you're in the United Kingdom, Canada, Switzerland, Austria, Australia, Spain, France, and Germany, they have calendars for you as well. So that's pretty cool. Okay. And in the future, we will be taking a look at some of these other calendars because I'm going to be using some of these calendars in the upcoming year. But for today, I need to stay focused. My little ADHD self, I need to focus on just looking at the yearly calendar. Okay. All right, so here are some examples of their yearly calendars. And if you have followed me for any time, you have seen some of these calendars being used. I'm going to find the main one that I like the best. All of the top ones here are in landscape. So you see they're going across the page. I really want one that is in portrait because I want the two halves of the year stacked on top of each other. This one's really cool. This little one here, again, focus. Not an easy thing for me to do. Okay, this is the calendar that I have used over and over year after year, template number 10, and it's for Word, and it's portrait, 1 page, 2 half-year blocks, multicolored. It's all on 1 page. Each month is a different color. It's a rainbow calendar to reflect the changing in the seasons. It's a US edition with federal holidays and observances, which is what I'm looking for. Free to download, editable, customizable, easily printable for Microsoft Word. Okay? All right, so all I need to do here is take a look at that. I'm going to quickly peek and see if there's anything new that I might want to look at for other projects. I like the colors of the other one. This is a year on 1 page in a different format. This goes with the beginning of the day of the month. That gets a little confusing for me. This one, year on 2 pages, I have used before. A year on 4 pages, which I really like because then that breaks it down by quarter. And again, I'll probably be using this a little bit more this year. I used to use this when I was doing a lot of planning for church, and we would have our big planning sessions and could lay everything out across the table on these 4 pages and go ahead and get a really good look at things that could be planned. I really like those. Okay, here's continuous rolling layout. And then here is a year at a glance, multicolored, which is also very nice. And now we're back into small calendars. All right, I'm going to stick with good old template number 10. I am a creature of habit. So back up here to template number 10. Okay, there we go. Now it says download template number 10. So I'm going to click download. I'm going to close this ad, and you see it's going to download the template here. If I double click on that, it is going to open it in Word. Now let me bring Word up so that you can see that. Make that a little bit bigger so it's not so confusing in the back. It asks me if I want to be able to enable editing. I'm going to say yes. And I do not need the navigation pane. All I need to see here is the calendar, just like that. Okay, that's how it looked on the screen. Now, what I can do is I can either modify this calendar here in Word, or I can modify it once I get it into OneNote, okay? The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the Calendarpedia, because there is one also at the bottom with the link to it, to the page, and that's the one that I like to leave. I don't need to know that this is a calendar, so when I get it into OneNote, I'm going to take that off. But you see here, it lists every month, starting at the first of the month, and the weekends and holidays are highlighted in the color of the month. So we see here that January 1st starts on a Sunday, and Monday is the observed New Year's Day. So those are highlighted in blue, and it goes along as such. In February here, we have the weekend of the 18th and 19th, and then you also have our celebration of President's Day. Jump over here to May, you see the 27th, 28th, and the celebration of Memorial Day. So I like that the holidays and the weekends are in color. Now what I'm going to do to get this into OneNote is I'm going to highlight the entire thing, and I'm going to go up here and I'm simply going to say copy. And now I'm finished with Word, so I'm going to drop that down. I'm going to come into my OneNote calendar. I'm here in my year-long section. I've added a new page, and I am simply going to click here and hit paste. And it is going to bring in that entire calendar for me, okay? Now I can give this a page name. I can call this 2023 year-long calendar, so that I know for my long-term planning and all of that I have it set. All right. Now I wanted to show you a little bit here I am finished with Google, so I'm going to get rid of that as well. And we will make this full screen. I'm going to show you how I do some editing here in OneNote, okay? First of all, I know this is the calendar. I do not need the word calendar there, so I'm going to delete that. And what I also like to do is I kind of like this to fill the page or the screen amount that I have. So I will go and adjust the size of the container like so. What I do is I come in and I abbreviate every month down to its 3-letter abbreviation. Actually, I don't want this 2023 in there as well because that's going to make this one column too big. I can adjust these columns any way that I want from here. So I can go in and make them as big or as small as I would like. Okay, so I'm going to do that quickly just by making these adjustments, grabbing the columns, adjusting the width the way that I want it to be, and we'll be right back. Okay, now if I want to add 2023 somewhere, I can put it back up there so that I remember that this is for the year of 2023, all within this table. That's absolutely fine. What I wanted to do is I wanted to show you some ways that I use this perpetual or year-long calendar. And when I started out, I came up with 6 ideas of using this calendar right off the bat. And the more I look through my planner from 2021 and 2022, I'm now up to about 18 ways that I've used this calendar. So what I thought I would do is just kind of go through each month that's here and show you a little bit about how I might use this particular calendar. Okay, so the first thing that I do is I will set up a calendar like this, or even a perpetual calendar that I don't have to change year after year. But for one way that I will use this calendar is for birthdays. Okay, so I'm going to write here birthdays and anniversaries. Okay, and all I would do for my birthday and anniversary calendar is I would come through and I would think about who do I know that has a birthday in January. I have a perpetual list that I have cultivated over the years. So I keep using that list over and over. But let's say that my dad's birthday was on this day. And I could even color code birthdays to be a particular color. Let's say birthdays are going to be red. And then my anniversary is on this day, and I want to color code anniversaries a separate color, so I might pick purple for those. And I would go through the entire calendar listing people's anniversaries and that kind of thing. Another thing that I also like to do for a person's birthday is I like to put in parentheses next to them what year they were born in. Okay, so if I look at my dad's birthday and I know that he was born in 1935, that helps me keep track of how old he is. That way also, if I'm using this as a perpetual calendar, I don't have to retype how old he is every year. I just have to remember that he was born in 1935. Okay, same thing goes with the anniversaries. If I put down that I was married in 1990, I will always remember the year that I got married, and I don't have to again change the anniversary year every time. I just remember to do the math and figure out what year we will be celebrating. Okay, so birthdays and anniversaries. Another way that you might color code this is you might do family birthdays in one color, like I've done red here. Let's say it's Linda's birthday, but she's not part of my family. She's just one of my friends. I have color coded my friends, let's see, to be this teal color, okay? You can create a little legend up here so that you remember what those colors actually mean, okay? So birthdays and anniversaries is a great way to use this year-long calendar. A second way that I like to use this year-long calendar is as a future log, okay, for long-term planning. And that might be for events or appointments or that kind of thing. Let's say that I know that our family likes to go skiing. And so what I might do is, I know that we have an annual skiing trip here, and we usually go this first weekend here, and I want to, let's say, color code those all the same color. So I can do that. I will make that maybe a brighter blue so that I know that that's our skiing trip. Okay. Let's say then I also know that I have a dentist appointment down here for myself. So I put dentist/C because that's my dentist appointment, not someone else in the family. Okay. So anything that comes up, if I know if a wedding that comes, you get one of those save the date things and it's 6 or 8 months out, you can go ahead and add that in here. So using this long-term planner, this year at a glance planner as a future log works great. What I also like to do, and I did it in 2021 and probably will start doing it again in 2022, is when I go to set up my monthly calendars, what I will then do is, once this is already populated, I can just come in here, copy this, take it to, let's say, the month of February, or the, whatever month it happens to be, create a new monthly or dashboard page, add this information there. I don't have to recreate the calendar again. I don't have to transfer those dates again. Everything is in its place right away. I'll be showing you how I do that as January comes up, because I think I've decided how I'm going to create my planner for 2023. All right, so stay tuned for that. And if you haven't subscribed already, please think about subscribing so you can see all of these interesting ways that we are using OneNote as our life planner coming up in 2023. Another way that I like to use a calendar like this is as a health tracker, okay? Now, I happen to be somebody who has blood sugar issues. Diabetes runs in my family, so I have been checking my blood sugar for years. Okay, and I have to keep track of those numbers every day. Well, this is a great place that I can come in here every morning. I can check my blood sugar and I can record the number, and I can have all of this information right with me. And then when I go to the doctor and the doctor says, "How's your blood sugar?" I can simply bring this up on my phone in OneNote and say, "Well, here's the record of what my blood sugar has been doing," and they take a look at that and they're like, "Oh, well, that's just great," so it really is helpful to have that information. Now, maybe blood sugar is not something that you track, but maybe it's your blood pressure, and so you want to track your blood pressure, and let's say your blood pressure is a little high one day, and that's not good. So you're trying to get it under control, and you can put the next day in there and it's looking a little bit better. And as the weekend approaches, maybe it gets even better. Maybe you get down to a good healthy level. So you can track your blood pressure. Let's say you're somebody who has a chronic illness and you want to track your symptoms. So let's say, maybe I have low back pain. I can say that my pain level for a certain day was an 8. Or maybe I had a headache one day and I want to track that. Whatever your health issue might be, this might be a good way for you to track that. And then you have it a year at a glance, so that you can start to see patterns and trends in what you're experiencing. Another way that you might want to use this is you might want to use this in your business, okay? Maybe you're somebody like me and you have a YouTube channel and you want to track how many followers you have. So let's say, I check my numbers every morning and I am up to 1,200 followers. And then the next day I'm at 1,205. Which means 5 more people started following me. That's great. That is helpful for my channel to know. Maybe you're somebody that runs an Etsy shop and you want to keep track of your sales, and you just simply want to track how much money you earned on your Etsy shop every day. So you could simply go in and track it that way so that you could see day over day how things are going. Okay, that's a really good way too. Maybe you have more than just one account and you want to actually add up here, back up here to our followers, you actually want to add another column, because not only are you tracking what's happening on YouTube, so you might want to write YouTube up here. Maybe you also have an Instagram account that you're tracking. Well, the good news is that you can come in here, go to the table feature, insert to the right, and it will create another row there. And then you can put an Instagram, and you can say, well, I have, 345 followers on Instagram and 347 followers on Instagram, that kind of thing. So just because this document only has 3 columns per month, you can change and add as many columns as you would like. My actual tracker that I use for my YouTube following has 5 columns for each month, so that I can keep track of the YouTube followers and the views and the watch time and Instagram and Facebook and all of that as people are following me. So it's very, very helpful to be able to do that. All right, another business thing that you might think about is maybe you have a new product coming out. You have a product launch coming up, and you know that that deadline is going to be, let's say, the 21st. So you have a product launch here that you want to be aware of. And then putting that date in allows you then to back plan. You can start to know when your advertisements are going out, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram, wherever it happens to be. You can have your final beta testing on your product, so that you know that it is actually ready to go before you start your advertising. So you can start with your milestone and then back plan anything that you need leading up to a product launch, or a book release, or an e-course, or whatever it is that you happen to be developing. Okay, so there's lots and lots of business uses for this kind of calendar. All right, another way that you might want to use this is you might want to use it as a school calendar. Now, I know that every school system gives out a calendar for the students that are in their particular school, but maybe you're somebody who has 2 or 3 children, and they maybe go to different schools. Maybe you have one in preschool, maybe you have one in elementary school and one in middle school. And so you need to really be able to keep track of all of those different schedules that are going on. So this might be a great way to do this. Again, like the birthdays, you might think about color coding for each child. Okay, and that could be very helpful, I think, to see when there are times when the kids are off at the same time, or when the kids are off at different times, and you want to have, maybe you're somebody that likes to spend a little special time with each one of your children, and that might be a good opportunity to do that. So using it as a school calendar is a great way to do that. So maybe this is, the conference day with the teacher. Maybe this is a Friday as an early dismissal, and that might happen at 2:30 instead of 4 or something like that. Okay, so keeping it as a school calendar is kind of handy. Also, if you're a student, just having this as a school calendar for when projects are due, and when tests are, and when midterms are, and all of that kind of thing would be very helpful as well. When I was a teacher, I used this kind of calendar as well, because I needed to mark out grading periods. Each grading period was 9 weeks, and we always tried to finish our units right at the end of the grading period, so that you didn't have things overlapping. Okay, so it was always nice to be able to have this long range plan in advance. Let's say you have a major project in your life. In this case, I'm going to use the example of a home renovation. Am I renovating my home? No. But this would be great to use if I was. So this would be a good way for you to set, deadlines that you want to have the renovation completed, let's say by the end of the month. And then again, you can, once you have that milestone set, you can then go back and plan. Let's say when the finishing is going to be done, all the paint and trim and all of that kind of thing. The painting. My typing skills are not that great today. Okay, maybe you have to have some electrical work done, and you've gone ahead and scheduled that. Maybe you have some plumbing that needed to be to be done, so you went ahead and scheduled that, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so doing it as a project planner can be a great idea for any kind of project that you might be doing around your house. Okay, another way that you might want to use this kind of calendar is for goal setting. Just like we talked about with the project planning and we talked about with the business planning, launching a new product or something like that. For goal setting, you might want to have a milestone of when you achieve a certain goal, okay? Again, a good way to do that is to choose the date that you want that milestone to be accomplished. Let's say we are going to lose 2 pounds. Okay, and then leading up to that, you might want to, let's say you're going to start walking 1 mile. Okay, and for that first week, you're going to do that. So we can copy that and we can paste it in there, and then maybe we paste it here, but this time we're going to do 1.5 miles. So you see how you're increasing your activity level here, and we can copy that and then paste it and then paste it. And then the next time, maybe it's no longer 1.1 miles, but now it's 2 miles. Okay, so you get the idea. So you're building up to that goal that you're putting in for yourself. Okay, and again, if you want to, you can add other columns. Maybe you have a goal, 2 or 3 goals that you're working on for that month. You could set up a column for each one of those goals, put those milestones in, put those steps to working on those milestones in, and that will help you achieve your goals. Okay. All right, so goal setting is a really cool way to use this year at a glance calendar. Okay, another way that you might want to use this calendar is for finances or bill paying. All right, so you might want to come in here every month and list when your major bills are due, like when your mortgage is due, when your car payment is due, when your electric bill is due, when your student loan payment is due, that kind of thing. That's very helpful so that you know if you have big things coming up that you're saving the money for those. You can even put things that are not monthly on here. You might have, let's say, a subscription to Costco that only comes up annually, and that is once a year, so you just want to put that in there, that it's just a yearly time when that comes up. Okay, so that's one way, is listing your bills and when they're due. And then if you've paid your mortgage, you might want to come in here and highlight it in a certain color to say, yep, I paid that, and I made the car payment, paid that. Just a way to check on yourself, okay? Another way financially might be if you're saving money for something, putting it away for retirement or something like that. Let's say you get a paycheck every other Friday, and this pay period you have saved $100. And then 2 weeks from now, well, you've already got Costco in there, but guess what? You can make these columns bigger. You can come in here and say, on this day, I saved $500 towards my retirement, and so on and so on, okay? Again, you can color code these things if you'd like. Maybe because that is savings, you want to put that in green. Whatever you would like to do, that works perfectly fine. These calendars are so flexible. That's what I love about them. Because they're created in the table format, they can expand. You can add multiple things to multiple days. I can add row after row after row here if I would like. Okay, so you're not limited simply by the space that's there when you start. Okay, all right. So finances and bill payment, another great way to use this year-long calendar. All right, and kind of related to financial things and bill payment are subscriptions that you might have. Okay, so having just one calendar with all of your subscriptions on it is a great thing. Like, let's say that you have a subscription to Netflix, You're scattering these out throughout the year as they might come up for renewal. I'm just listing them all here for September just so you have an idea of what we're talking about. So Netflix, Costco, I have Camtasia, which is the editing program that I use. So you can list all of those things here. Maybe you have Apple TV that you pay for. Not only is it a good idea to know when these things come due, but it's also a good idea to list all of these things so that you can really see where all of your money and time is going. You might have a subscription to Apple TV, but do you actually watch Apple TV? Maybe that's something that you could get rid of and not need that anymore. Anyway, it's good to make an account of those things and keep them all in one place. And this calendar is a great way to do that. Another thing that I like to use this kind of calendar for is, I'm going to say my garden, but you could use it for any hobby. So let's put hobby there, okay, for garden or hobby. Let's say I have certain seeds that I want to start at a certain time. So I might go up to January or February and I might put down seed starting. And then I could come down and say I'm going to start my peas, and I'm going to start some onions, and I'm going to start some cucumbers. All right. And then a couple weeks later, I'll come down and I'll do, seed starting for my tomatoes, that kind of thing. All right. You can also list when you fertilize things. Let's say you did your shrubs with Hollytone, so that you can keep track and remember when you did those kinds of things, okay? You can list on here when it's time to plant your bulbs. And remember, if you're wanting those spring daffodils, you have to plant those in the fall, so you have to plan for that in advance, okay? So keeping track of your garden or your hobby is an interesting way. Maybe you're somebody who's a painter and you take various classes, or you're working on various projects. I have used this for quilting as well. I set a deadline for when I need that graduation quilt finished, and then I start working my way backwards, figuring by January I should have the material picked out, and by February I should have it cut and start sewing the blocks, and so on and so on and so on. So very helpful for hobbies, gardening, and otherwise. Another thing that you might want to have is a calendar for your pets. Now, you may think I'm crazy, but there are some people who have a lot of grooming appointments for their pets, and they might want to keep those listed on here. Grooming appointments. You might also want to keep a track of your veterinary appointments, when the animal's nails were clipped, any medications, flea and tick medication, that kind of thing. Because you think that you could remember these things, but it really is difficult. And if your pet gets sick and you take them to the doctor, and the veterinarian says to you, well, how's their health been? You now have a complete record of when they got their shots, their rabies shots, any medications that they might take, any strange things that you might have noticed going on with them. You can list all of that on here. We often do those things for our children, but for some of us, our fur babies are our children. So doing a pet calendar could be a great idea too. This last one here for December could be for home maintenance by the month. So there are certain things that we need to do around our house on a monthly basis, or on a yearly basis, or seasonally. So this would be a good place to list that. You might want to note on here, when you turn your pilot light on, on your fireplace, or when you have your fireplace cleaned. You might want to track when you're doing your sprinkler system, and those kinds of things. When you've had your carpet cleaned. All of those home maintenance kinds of things. When you've had your carpet cleaned, when you've done your furnace filter changes, when you've checked your smoke detectors and your CO2 detectors, when you grease the garage door, just all of those kinds of things. It's great to have a list of your home maintenance projects, okay? All right, so that's another great way. Now, I have some other ideas, but I've run out of months to do them on, so I'm just going to jump out here to the side and make a list of the other ideas that I had thought about, okay? So not only do you have home maintenance, but you do have vehicle maintenance as well. And again, if you were somebody who has multiple vehicles, you can always add extra columns. So, maybe you have your car, your spouse's car, your child's car. Maybe you have a vehicle that you only, take on vacation, like a camper or something like that. So you have different vehicles. You can add different columns to each month so that you can track when you've done the oil changes, gotten new wipers, rotated the tires, all of those kinds of things. So vehicle maintenance is very handy. You also have emissions to do, tag renewal. There's lots of things for vehicles that people don't think about until you start putting all of those things down on the calendar. And it's a great way to track those kinds of things. And again, some of these things can be perpetual. So you don't have to copy them or create them year after year. You can just go back and look and keep adding on to your calendar. So that's kind of a great idea too. All right, more related to health. You might want to do a workout tracker. Just like we were doing for that goal setting and trying to lose that 2 pounds. If you just wanted to keep track of how much exercise you did, whether it was going out for a walk or a run, doing, whatever kind of exercise, weight training, aerobic dance, line dancing, water aerobics, playing tennis, any of those kinds of things. You might just want to track your workouts, how many calories you burned, and that kind of thing. That's always a good thing. And again, when you're using one of these year-long calendars, really what you're looking for is trends in these kinds of things, the workout calendars. Maybe you're somebody like me whose exercise tends to drop off in the wintertime. By knowing that I am accountable for tracking that is more motivating for me to get up and move a little bit, because I know I have to write my steps down somewhere. So I'm more likely to get up and move just because I have that accountability of filling out this kind of calendar. So that also is very helpful. All right. The other thing that I was thinking about, and I kind of talked about this a little bit when I talked about school calendars for your children, is if you are in the field of education, whether you're an administrator or a teacher or a tutor or a student, something like that, having a long-range calendar for educational things, knowing when, especially if you're a student, when the semester ends, when major deadlines are, papers are due, midterm exams, final exams, group projects are due. Being able to schedule all of that out on a long-term calendar is a really, really great idea, because when the semester starts and you get your syllabus in August or September and the project's not due until December, it's very easy to let that creep up on you. So if you go ahead and schedule that out on a long-term calendar like this, it's very helpful. And also, as I was saying, for teachers, having to keep track of those marking periods or those semesters and to be able to get the work done within the time frame that you need, how many units you need to cover in your math curriculum before the end of the year. It's helpful to kind of schedule those things out, because I don't know about you, but when I was a teacher, I could get on a subject, the kids would get interested in something, and we would continue studying that rather than moving on like we needed to keep up with our pacing guide for what we were supposed to cover the year. So this works pretty well to do that. And the last thing that I have, is tracking your spiritual, your spiritual things. So maybe you're somebody who attends a church and you have certain retreats that you do, or vacation Bible schools that you do, or Bible studies that you do, or other book readings that you do that you want to participate in. Maybe there is a weekly handbell choir rehearsal that you need to do, or musical choir or something like that. So just kind of having a long-term look at what your spiritual life calendar looks like. If you're a church that's involved in doing a cantata or a big Epiphany concert or something like that, you're going to need to know when the rehearsals are leading up to that, how all of that's going to be planned. Many churches do homecomings, so you're going to need to have that on your calendar and to be able to plan for that. So there's lots of things in your spiritual life. Also regarding spiritual life, you may also think about, well, if you're somebody who prays or meditates daily, this may be a way to track how you're doing with that. Whether you're spending, 10 minutes meditating quietly, or maybe you want to keep a list of people that you're praying for. On Monday, I prayed for my Aunt Lucy, and I prayed for Brother Bob, and I prayed for George, and I prayed for Joanna. And, just to list those people here makes it very intentional what you're doing. And so that's a good thing too. There are other things that you could think about. We used to keep a kindness calendar in our classroom. And if I saw one of the students doing something that was a kindness to another student, I would simply go up to the calendar and write down on the calendar, sharing pencils, or, collecting homework, or, whatever I saw the kids doing that was an act of kindness towards each other. I would record that on a big calendar that we had in the classroom, just kind of as a reward and motivation for the kids to keep doing things. So I'm going to add that on here, acts of kindness. And you can see that as I'm talking to you about how to use this calendar, my mind is working about other ways to use this calendar. Let's see, you could do meal planning a whole month in advance, a whole year in advance. Boy, talk about being organized. That would be great, right? But you know what? You do it once and then you never have to do it again, because next year you just look at the calendar and you go, oh, January 1st, I make, bean and ham soup, and you eat that for, leftovers 2 or 3 nights of the week. Anyway, meal planning is another thing that you could use this calendar for. Tracking vacations and travel time. And when I say vacations, I mean not only leave and not only family vacations, but your leave at work. Okay, so let's add that. Vacations, leave, both sick and annual, that you might have at work. Okay. Let's see. I'm sure there are other things that just are not popping into my head right now. If you think of something that you use a year-long calendar like this for, please leave me a comment below. I would love to know, because I'm already up over 20. Maybe I should just keep going and see how many things I could think of. So if you have a great idea for me, leave it in the comments below so that I can learn from you as well. Anyway, I love these calendars from Calendarpedia. I like the fact that they are adaptable. Oh, and there's one thing I forgot to show you. Because it is set up as a table, if you don't like the colors that they have chosen for your particular month, you simply can go in here, highlight the row that you want. Of course, go down to my favorite, table shading, and change that color to whatever color you would like. Let's say you want to do, let's pick a green color for Christmas. And so then you could go in here and do all of these, table shading, that same green, table shading, that same green, and so on and so on. And maybe November as purple is not your thing. I know that both my daughter and I have very set colors in our minds for what the months might look like. So you can do that. It doesn't matter. For the perpetual year-long calendar, the calendar colors that they've chosen don't bother me, but I just wanted you to know that you can customize that. You can also customize, the font that they've used. If they've used Arial, but you want to use, I don't know, Broadway, you can do that. It doesn't matter. and change the font size and all that, because really it's just a table, so you can customize it the way you want. All the hard work is done because all the holidays are there, and all of the weekends are already put in for you, okay? Another thing that I'll be showing you when I set up my 2023 calendar is how you can take this and even add links to it if you want to be able to jump directly to that weekly or daily page. So stay tuned for that. Remember, subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to have you as part of the community. Anyway, thank you for joining me today. I really hope that as you are starting to wrap up 2022 and start thinking about 2023, that you will maybe come up with some ways that you can use a year-long planner like this or calendar like this. And Calendarpedia is a great resource for getting those calendars. You will see more of them as we get ready and set up our 2023 Crystal's Life Planner. But for now, what I'd like to say is, here's hoping that you can live a more simplified and organized life through better planning. I use OneNote and Calendarpedia. Until next time, okay, bye.